Hello friends, and welcome back to this week's installment of the Teachable Tuesdays series. I am your host Victoria, and today we are going to continue our discussion of the value of redemptive suffering. So this is part 2 of this 2-part series. If you haven't watched the first part, I encourage you to go back, listen to the first video, and then come right back here and listen to this one. So I heard this quote the other day from St. John Vianney. It's a really beautiful but also a really powerful quote about the meaning of suffering, right? And he once said that suffering not offered up to God is suffering wasted, right? And we don't want to waste anything in this life. We only have this one life to live well, and we don't even want to waste our sufferings in this life. And that's all to say that suffering is actually efficacious, meaning that suffering allows us to grow in holiness. Efficacious meaning it's good, it's for our own benefit. It's not just for the benefit of other people, it's also for our own benefit because it helps us to grow in faith, to grow in virtue, to grow in strength, but mostly to grow in holiness. So it's no secret, the culture of death is going to tell you that there is no meaning to suffering and that it's bad and that we just need to avoid it at every single cost. But the culture of life is going to say that suffering has a real value, right? And Christ himself shows that transforming love through his own suffering in his own life. And no servant is greater than their master, and so we must also pick up our crosses and follow him even in the ways of suffering. So the big question for us Christians then is, what does redemptive suffering actually look like in the day in and day out happenings of life? Well, there's this really great quote by this man named Jim Caviezel. If you recognize the name, you probably recognize him from The Passion of the Christ. He was the man who played Jesus in that really beautiful and powerful movie. And he once said this. He said that anything that I undergo, I look at as redemptive suffering. Let me repeat that. Anything that I undergo, I look at as redemptive suffering. So that could be literally anything that happens to you in life that causes you pain, causes you suffering, anything that's an inconvenience, sitting in traffic, waiting to get home, stubbing your toe, maybe you broke a bone, or maybe you have something big going on in your life. Maybe you have cancer, you're going through cancer treatments, maybe it's something like that, right? But anything, no matter how big, no matter how small, is valuable and should not be wasted in any way. Now, we have to be cautious here, because what I'm not saying that you should inflict suffering on yourself for no reason, and the church also does not say that you cannot go and get life-saving treatment if you are deathly ill, like just in the name of redemptive suffering. That is your own choice, whether you choose to get that life-saving treatment or not. But what we are saying is to just accept whatever sufferings come to you in life, and just to offer that up to God, just to carry your cross along with Jesus throughout your day, and even to find joy in the midst of those sufferings. I mean, a lot of St. Paul's letters to the different various Christian communities, he wrote from jail, and he found such joy in the sufferings that he endured. In that same way, we can find joy in our own sufferings as well. I just really love saint quotes, right? And there's another saint, St. Vincent de Paul, who also talks about redemptive suffering. And he says this. He says that if we only knew the precious treasure hidden in infirmities, we would receive them with the same joy with which we receive the greatest benefits. And we would bear them without ever complaining or showing signs of weariness. Guys, that is insane. That is so true, though. Whatever hidden infirmities we have, we can find joy in the midst of those infirmities and in those sufferings, right? Just as much as we find joy in the little things and in the joyful things as well. Now, I think it's really easy to hear these beautiful saint quotes and hear the lives of these saints and think, well, I can never be that holy. Like, I have a low tolerance for pain and suffering, and I complain very easily. I certainly complain easily when I suffer. But there is this one saint who I take so much solace in. Her name is Saint Therese of Lisieux. Look her up. She is so wonderful. Just love her. But she talks about this little way of getting to heaven. And in her little way, she talks about offering up your sufferings to the Lord, no matter how small they may seem, just out of love for him. There was another priest, I heard his homily recently. His name is Father Charles Mangano. And he talked about in his homily this beautiful little story, this little anecdote that has really stuck with me since I've heard it. Imagine there's this mom and she's in the kitchen and her little daughter comes running in saying, "Mom, look, I picked these little dandelions. Do you like them?" Do you think that she would reject the dandelions from her child because they weren't perfectly formed flowers? They were basically like weeds? Of course not. She would receive that dandelion with such love. And in that same way, the Lord receives our little sufferings with such great love, even if it's not necessarily like the big, martyr kind of suffering or, intense suffering. We can still offer those little everyday sufferings to Him, and we can trust and know that He's going to receive that with such immense joy. And with that, let me issue a new challenge for this week. So I encourage you this week to fast from something and to offer it up to God as an act of self-denial, right? An act of redemptive suffering, really. So this could be something like sweets, social media, whatever that looks like for you, something small, maybe sugar and coffee. Just whatever that is, I encourage you to pick something and offer it up to the Lord. Now, if you're feeling like you want an extra challenge, if you want to up the ante here, I encourage you to pick one day and to fast only drinking water and eating bread. It kind of sounds harder than it actually is, especially if you can reasonably do so. I would encourage you to try it. The first time I did it, I was kind of nervous about it. I didn't know how it was going to go, how hungry I was going to get. And then the Lord just really surprised me, and it just felt really good to have offered all of that grace and, a little bit of that suffering up to the Lord. So if you want an extra challenge, fast on bread and water. Try it. You never know. Alright guys, this is the last Teachable Tuesday series video. I just want to let you know that it has been such a joy to journey with you through these past few weeks. I really have hoped and prayed that you have gotten a lot out of this and that you have drawn more nearer to the Lord. Be sure to subscribe to our social media pages to keep up with all the other great and exciting projects of our office, and know that I keep you close in my heart, in my thoughts, and in my prayers. And I just pray that God blesses you abundantly today and every single day. Hopefully, I will see you someday, either this side of heaven or the other side. And I pray that the Lord blesses you abundantly and that you just seek Him with your whole heart while He is still near to be found. And know that He loves you so much and pursues your heart every day and desires your closeness with Him. Alright guys, it has been a joy, it's been a blessing. I'll be signing off now. Bye!